日本時間12月9日、フロリダ州オーランドで行われているウィンターミーティングの会場で、ドジャースのロバーツ監督がメディアの取材に対応しました。そこでは、大谷翔平選手、山本由伸投手、佐々木朗希投手など、日本人選手の WBC 出場について言及しました。さらに、米メディア、MLB ネットワークにも出演したロバーツ監督は、ワールドシリーズを振り返り、山本投手、大谷選手の活躍の舞台裏について語る場面も。ここからは、その様子を字幕付きでご紹介します。
It's so funny catching up with managers. How's your offseason going? Nobody is having a better offseason than Dodgers manager Dave Roberts. He hopes this lasts forever. We'll just keep rolling in that video as LA wins it again. Doc, it's great to see you. It was one of the greatest World Series of all time. I know it never gets old. It's always sweet. Have you had time to really reflect and soak it in just how special that journey was?
You know what? I haven't had time to. I've had time.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the flowers, the fruits, and I'm a well-traveled man. I'm going to football games, basketball games, parades. But I'm just having fun. And I think the thing is, the last few years, I've told myself, if I can't enjoy the wins, what the heck am I doing this for? So I'm having a good time. And as we get here in Orlando at the winter meetings, now my mind starts to turn towards 26.
Davey, when I watched that video right there of you guys celebrating and looking back at it, playing 12 years in the big leagues and have never won a championship, been to the World Series, and you've done it 2 years in a row, can you talk to our viewers about how much work goes into that? I can only imagine what that's like for the final hug in Game 7 to think back to how much work goes in it from day one of spring training.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that you saw so much elation and so much joy from me, in the sense that there's so many conversations and there's so much adversity and the grind of it. And, you know, Mookie right there on that play, he was working on that play all year, the different arm angle, the throw from on the run. And, you know, Miguel Rojas, who didn't start postseason games until Game 6 in the World Series, so he had set homer. And obviously we lost Alex Vesia, and Caleb Vesia lost their baby during the postseason. All this stuff is all this emotion for guys to keep fighting and staying together. Tyler Glasnow, who I just hugged, wasn't a part of it last year, so he got to be a part of it this year. So that's kind of where all my emotion came from.
Well, we got a show on the network this week you have to watch. It's Game 7 revisited. Deep dive. We got camera angles you've never seen before, stories behind everything. One of them I want to ask you about, Andy Pages. I thought it was the greatest catch in World Series history, given the circumstances. But he was sitting next to me, Doc, in the dugout, watching the game for 3.5 hours. Now there's a bases-loaded sac fly situation. Tell me about the decision to put him in the game and then describe, from your vantage point, the play that he made.
Well, that's exactly right. And the thing is, though, is that Andy's a young player who started all year for us and was on the cusp of making his first All-Star game. But I gave him as much leash as I felt I could. And right there, he was on the bench next to TV 5 minutes before that catch.
And so,
no, seriously. And so once it got to bases loaded, I looked at Danny Lehman, our bench coach, and said, hey, get Pages in there because of the arm strength. So I was in there knowing we were going to play the infield in, and I didn't want a shallow, medium fly ball for them to win the game. So I had him into the game, and he was just, again, eating sunflower seeds, chewing gum next to TV, and then 5 minutes later, he's in a World Series game. But I give him a lot of credit for being ready when called upon, and there was a little bit of a break right there, so he had a chance to get his arm loose a little bit. But again, legs not loose, sitting on the end of the bench, goes out there, and I think there was like a 3% chance for him to make that play because he was in pretty shallow.
Yeah.
And then he had Kike boring down on him, so what a great play.
The X factor in that game, though, and obviously I think the whole postseason, was Yamamoto. I'd never seen anything like it. For him to go 100-plus pitches in Game 6 and then come back in Game 7, what was the conversation with him after Game 6? And did you think he would go, 40 pitches in Game 7?
I didn't, Case, and even on top of that, in Game 3, after he threw Game 2, he was getting loose and was hot to go into that 18-inning game.
That's right.
So then he comes there and pitches Game 6 and domination, and then he just said that he was ready, available for Game 7. And at that point in time, I was like, you know, there's certain guys that I'm going to go with in a Game 7, and he was one of them. And I'll be honest, I was like, man, after 1 inning, 2 innings, and that third inning is like, if he doesn't get out of this one, if we don't win the game after this one, that's going to be it, and I'm going to go to Clayton right there.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about the guy who started the game, Shohei Ohtani. On short rest, he's more than 700 plate appearances into the year, and he's your Game 7 starter, and he started the year rehabbing after an elbow surgery. Let's fast forward now, next year, 2026. Is he a full go? Can Shohei Ohtani be the kind of guy he's going to make every turn and be a full two-way player for the Dodgers?
I think so. And obviously, Shohei has shown that he works really well with extra rest. And in the World Series, it was his shortest rest day start. But I do think that now this is the first year that he's had a chance to prepare for a season as being a regular, healthy player. So I do see with the 7, 8, 9 days of rest in between and various starts that there's no reason he can't make, 25, 27 starts.
Doc, watching him play every day, I'm enamored. We get to see him every once in a while. You get to see him every day. And I'm sure the routine to get ready to do what he does is something that you've never seen, we've never seen. What's he like in the clubhouse personality-wise? And also, what's it like for you to see this guy do what he does every single day?
I think the thing that people can quantify and you can see is the talent. He's physical. He has a big arm. He has a lot of power. But I don't think that people can appreciate that every single minute each day is accounted for. And there's no wasted time. And with that, everything he does is with intent, clear intent. Because now when you're rehabbing a shoulder as he was earlier, you're coming off Tommy John, you're trying to do flat grounds, insert bullpens, all the while getting a game plan for the starting pitcher that night, knowing you're going to take 5 at-bats. So how he can compartmentalize each thing, strike out in a big spot, but then go out there and take the ball to now have to throw down, put up a 0 on the mound. I just really marvel at how he's done that. And it takes a special athlete, certainly. And I hope there's more players that try to take that on. But for me, his mind is so dang strong. And, Case, we go 0 for 4, 3 games in a row, and we're ready. I'm
a mess.
We're ready to jump off a cliff.
I got insomnia.
He's ready to still start and make pitches and punch out 10 against the Brewers and go 6 shutty. Yeah. That's uncharted territory.
That's 12-year-old travel all-star.
I mean, right?
Major leaguer.
Miguel Ross is back on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. Doc, I'm a baseball guy, but I'm also a TV guy. One of my favorite shots of the year is your reaction after Miggy Rowe's home run. Dave Roberts has seen everything, and even Yuri Kretsch was going, oh, my God, he took off the deep. What was going through your mind?
I mean, I'm telling you right now, that right there, that was a 3-2 breaking ball, and he clipped it, and I was like, my hands were, I was like, God, I was like, thank you, God.
Give me some Excedrin.
I was like, dude, I was saying, just don't swing at the slider in the dirt.
Right.
I knew he was going to throw a slider. I was like, Miggy, just don't chase right here. Give Shohei a chance. And then he rides out the slider for him. I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
That was the thing. Everyone was so focused on Ohtani on deck.
Yes.
Forget about Miggy Rowe, and he ends up tying up the game. Incredible stuff. Give our best to Steven Nelson, our old buddy.
Last month for you, just recovering, leading series, and now I have to imagine shifting gears to the 2026 season.
Yeah, you know what? I think for myself, the coaches, the players that I've been in contact with, there's been a detachment, and there's been some travel. I've kind of been at some different events, some football games and things like that. And I think it's encouraged by me in the sense of it's been 2 great long years, and what we went through this past season, we had to detach to then come in fresh in February. So I think that right now guys are doing that. We've got some other guys that are dealing with some injuries from the season. We've got some other guys that are getting back to in Shohei as far as being a regular baseball player and not in the rehab mode. So all in all, we're in a good spot.
Do you want specifically in the bullpen, maybe add someone there that could be a 9th inning option for you? You have the bullpen room in particular. Do you kind of have that same feeling of the internal option?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about, a place of where we could improve, I still feel that, last year was an outlier year for Tanner Scott. Not to say that he needs to be a dedicated closer, but I feel that he's going to be much improved next year. There are some things physically that he was dealing with, some that were talked about, some that weren't. But yeah, I think that getting a high leverage reliever is never a bad thing.
What gives you confidence in Tanner bouncing back?
What's that?
What gives you confidence in Tanner bouncing back?
I just think that there were just some things that he kept under wraps about his body, and I think that the transition to LA, and he just kind of thinks just anything that could go wrong went wrong. I just feel he works his tail off. He's too talented, and his track record was nothing like last year, so I just think it was an outlier of a season.
Some clarity on Yamamoto and Sasaki in the WBC, and if they do, though, would you guys put more stringent limits on pitches and innings than the tournament rules?
I think there's no more clarity for us. Obviously, it's something that they both are excited about potentially. Obviously, the country of Japan excited. We have to have that conversation, but I would like to think that it's going to be a dialogue as far as restrictions and limitations, and in the sense of just trying to give them the opportunity, but also understand, they've come off some stuff, some long seasons, and certainly with Yamamoto and looking out for 2026. But yeah, right now there's no more clarity than we had before.
Did you expect Shohei to be used like in a normal rotation at the start of the season, or are there still going to be ways you guys are trying to get more creative?
I think the thought is to have Shohei being used as a regular starter, but it's not going to be a regular 5-man rotation. I just think that I don't want to go down the 6-man rotation road, but I do feel that, giving him 6, 7, 8 days off to kind of allow him to continue to stay rested and build up, I think that's something that's in our process. But again, we have a long way to go, but we've got some viable candidates, certainly.
Do you know if Shohei will pitch in the WBC, or does he want to?
I don't, Alden. I'm hoping he doesn't, but I don't know. Shohei's he's very in tune with his body, and but I would say probably the thought is he's probably just going to hit, but I really don't know. I haven't talked to Show. You know what? I haven't, and I know our guys are starting to kind of have the conversation as far as early part of the schedule and off days and things like that, which we still got to get to that point with health. It's a thought. It's going to be in the conversation. We just have some guys that have earned opportunities to make starts, and if we feel at the end of the day, getting Yamamoto, Roki potentially, Emmett, Shohei, some extra days rest, and there's not a cost. Those are the conversations we're going to have. And again, we could have 2 off days in the first week of the season that I haven't really looked at right now. That could kind of influence that too. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
How delicate of a dynamic is that, considering how important that event is over there versus obviously what they're coming off of what they did last year?
It's very delicate, and I know I don't want to be dismissive of what it means to them representing their country. I know the organization doesn't, but I do think that the conversations need to be had, will be had, as far as what each individual is taking on in whatever role that they might be taking on, and what potential costs there might be. And I think that at that point in time, then whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But you can't debate the emotion, what a player might feel of this potential opportunity.
I can't figure out how they decide what they do with their pitchers. And that's clear because on the national pregame show, when we were talking about the playoffs for the Dodgers, I thought it was guaranteed that Shohei Ohtani was to start a certain game. Then my cohort, Dan Plesac and I had a bit of a wager put on it. Anyway, let me just show you. I don't want to describe it. Let me take you back to this Shohei Ohtani wager I made.
How about this? If Shohei Ohtani starts game 2, I get to open this bottle on live TV and pour it on your head.
Okay.
If he doesn't start game 2,
you get to do
you get to do that to me.
Oh, take that bet.
I'm taking it.
Take that
you
bet.
heard it here on national TV. Ohtani will not pitch games 1 and 2.
We had a little wager on our show where if I believe Shohei Ohtani is going to start game 2, Dan Plesac said he's not going to start game 2. And if Ohtani does not start game 2, Dan gets to open up a bottle of champagne and pour it on my head live on the air. I get to do it to Dan if Ohtani does start game 2. So I'm talking to the GM of the Dodgers so you can settle this. Who's going to start for the Dodgers game 2?
Oh, I feel like you guys need to sweat this out a little bit longer. So we'll talk about it more post game, and then hopefully we'll see some champagne being poured out at some point.
We want the champagne on Greg, Brandon, please.
Ohtani's not starting game 2. I was wrong. I've been wrong a couple times in my life. And kids, it's time to pay when you talk too much.
Come on! Come on, man! This can't be. Don't get it on the mic. Oh, yeah. Look at all that product in your hair.
Feel the burn.
I can't believe it. Yes! Oh, that's beautiful.
Brandon Gomes, look what you did to me.
I completely forgot about that.
I appreciate you, Unbelievable moment. When we put graphics together for shows like this, should the 2026 projected rotation have Roki Sasaki in it?
Absolutely.
It should.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, and there was no hesitation on that at all.
No.
So what we saw in October was just a need at that moment in time.
For sure. I think it speaks to Roki as a competitor and, the culture that Doc and our veteran players have built to hey, however I can help right now, all I want to do is win. And at that moment, that was Roki's position to help us win, and he fully embraced it and dominated, and now use that as a springboard to go out and be the dominant starter that we feel like he can be.
いかがでしたでしょうか。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーなどを中心に野球情報をお届けしています。この動画が良かったら高評価、チャンネル登録をよろしくお願いいたします。今回も最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。それではまた次の動画でお会いしましょう。